Hello and welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art. Today I have a book haul for you. It's a birthday book haul. My birthday was on August 18th and I turned 47. Goodness, I'm old. But my channel on August 20th turned 4. So I'm technically 4 years old. At least that's when I put out my first video. I'd been on YouTube before, mostly just as a viewer, a purveyor of the finer booktube channels, and some trashy ones as well, I'm sure. Now I was a big fan of booktube, of watching videos, and it was during 2020, during the pandemic. I know I've shared my story before. I got into podcasting, and then it was a guest I had on. Let's see, I had started the podcast, and then I had a guest on who really just gave me some very nice compliments off camera, and encouraged me that I should try to be on YouTube. It wasn't, I don't know, it was just a nice and a kind thing to say, and that was like the final encouragement I needed, to realize I didn't have to, join the TikToks and the Grams and do all the weird dancing and act like an idiot in order to get viewers, that I could just chat with people, talk about my favorite books, bring on some authors, just to sit down and chat about their writing journey, to talk about the books we enjoy. And that's what I've done over the last 4 years. And we have, at the time of this recording, 910 subscribers, which honestly, in a moment of self-doubt, that's probably 909 more than I thought I'd have. Each one of them I'm so thankful for. And I just appreciate you all coming along on the journey with me. But since it was my birthday, I had some birthday money to spend. I went out and got some books. Some Victorian ones, a couple non-Victorian, but I want to share those with you today. Talk about what I have bought and some that I'm going to be reading during Victober. So you'll probably see these books again. First of all, a couple that haven't arrived yet. I bought a few things online and then went to one of my favorite bookstores to get, and I got the rest I'll show you. And so first of all, I got Silas Marner by George Eliot. That has not come yet because I ordered it and there was a problem, a shipping problem or something. And so then I reordered it, and now the book is apparently back ordered. And so I don't know if it's ever getting here, but I have a video coming out in Victober that I was recording, and I realized I did not own Silas Marner, which is one of my favorite Victorian books. I'm like, how do I not have this book? I could have sworn I had this book. So anyway, I had to order it, make sure I had a copy. I think I got the Penguin edition of this book, something really nice. And I look forward to reading that again in the new year. It's been a while, but I think next year I'll have to do a reread. And then I got, this one is for Victober. It was one of the books that we were voting on to be the group read. If you haven't been following that drama, oh my goodness. Hester and Villette were tied neck and neck through the whole voting process, and I didn't care which book won. I enjoyed both of them. I've read them before. I honestly probably won't read them this year. I like to use Victober to read new Victorian literature, but I do, especially Hester, I want to reread. I remember when I first read it really enjoying it, and I definitely need to read more of Oliphant's work. Anyway, back to the book I ordered. It's on its way. It's called The Three Imposters and Other Stories, Volume 1 of the Best Weird Tales of Arthur Machen. And of course, the book that was being voted on was The Three Imposters. And that sounded so interesting to me. And I dug in more and realized, yeah, this is an author I need to check out. A Victorian writer that I haven't read yet. And apparently he wrote a lot of books that were, and stories that inspired Lovecraft, I believe it was, and others to write in the Gothic tradition. So I'm looking forward to reading that when it comes for Victober. One other book I got online, and it's a biography of or history really of Currier and Ives. The company that published a lot of classic paintings and cozy paintings of you have winter scenes, you have I think Christmassy scenes as well. As a Christmas fan, it's referenced in one of the classic Christmas Carol songs. So I've always been curious about them, and for my Christmas podcast, I was talking about them and decided I needed to do some more reading about them. Happened to find this book online. It was used. It's a good price. It was only like $5 or something. Not terrible. So I got that. I'm going to read this in October, even though they're not Victorian technically, as they're a United States company, but it was the same time frame. So I might be stretching the rules a little bit, but I'm going to do it anyway, because that's the kind of rebel I am. Right. Okay. So, all right. I've got a couple more here, nonfiction and then fiction. One is called Dickens in Crime by Phillip Collins. And this book looks at how Dickens uses crime throughout his writing. I don't know if I'll read this during Victober. I have a couple other books about Dickens I want to get to, but certainly within the next year or so, I'm going to be reading this. For those of you who are curious, you can see over here, I've got about 3 shelves of Dickens books about him, about his writing. I actually counted the other day, I have 78 different books on Dickens that I own, and I've read 71 of them. I didn't even think it was that many, but goodness, I am a walking depository suppository. No, I have all this information of Dickens in my head trying to get out. At what point do I just need to write something about Dickens, perhaps? But I really enjoy reading about him. He's such a interesting and conflicted character. Certainly some parts of his life are hard to read, but he continues to fascinate me, and I love the stories that he's written and has left us with. So anyway, that's Dickens in Crime, a book I'm really looking forward to reading this coming year. So happy birthday to me. And then one of my other favorite classic writers, not Victorian, but it's called Jane Austen, A Literary Celebrity by Peter J. Leithart. So this covers some of the history of Jane. And what the back says is that it offers a biographical picture of a woman who never meant to be famous, but whose stories have touched the lives of millions. Whether you're a fan of her original works, including Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, and Emma, a connoisseur of Austen-inspired film and TV adaptations, or interested in discovering more about one of history's most important literary figures, you'll revel in learning how the mania for all things Austen, coined Jania, began. I don't think it's called Jania, is it? Isn't it called like Austen Mania, or I don't know. That works for me. How our modern perception of Divine Jane has kept us from knowing the true, witty, and whimsical Jenny Austen, and why Austen's stories are as timeless as they are perennially appealing. And then one thing I was interested in this book, it says in this updated edition, you'll also find a reading guide perfect for deeper thought or book club discussions, which I think will be real interesting. I'm always willing and interested in digging deeper into her writing. So this book is only about 15 years old or so it's relatively new. And that will go great with my books about Jane Austen collection I have. And I believe, as I've just counted those recently as well, I have around 31. So now 32. Beautiful cover, by the way. And I've read exactly half of them. So I'm a little more percentage-wise behind on my Jane Austen biographies and literary criticism that I've enjoyed reading. I do have a handful of other authors that I'm hoping to read more biographical works on. I have a couple about Anthony Trollope, some on Elizabeth Gaskell, one or two on George Eliot, I believe. But Dickens and Jane Austen take up most of my bookshelf space. All right, and then Victorian fiction. One book I found that I don't have yet is A Pair of Blue Eyes by Thomas Hardy. Now, my reading of Hardy has been mostly hits, a couple of misses, one being Jude the Obscure being a definite miss for me. Now, when I was done, I did not throw it across the room as several have done in the past, but I will not judge you for doing that, certainly, being that I featured it recently in a Garbogist video. So who am I to judge? But A Pair of Blue Eyes by Thomas Hardy looks like it's a book about courtship, and there's two men she might have to choose from. I didn't really want to get too deep into the description in case they have spoilers. But I have read a good number of Hardy books. I still have a few left to get to, and I haven't read any since I've read Jude the Obscure, and I kind of want to go back and maybe read through his works, starting with going in chronological publication order. So I might reread a few, but then I'll hit the ones I've missed. I really do, for the most part, enjoy his writing. I think he's one of the most beautiful descriptive writers that there is. I don't know if I'll read any this Victober, but it's awful tempting. And then one I am so excited about this one, guys. It's a chunker. It's about 1,000 pages, and it's the complete shorter fiction of Anthony Trollope. So you have a lot of his short stories, you have his novellas in here, and I cannot wait to dip in and out of this book. I'm probably not going to just sit down and read through it, but I on the Trollope, shaking the camera there, on the Trollope Society webpage, they have a collection of like titles of all his works, and I saw that they had listed like all of his short fiction, and it was divided up into different categories. And so one of particular interest to me is they had the category of all of his Christmas stories, which are included, of course, in this collection of all of his complete shorter fiction. That's a long-winded way of saying I'll probably read thematically when I'm in the mood. So I could see very likely this fall in December reading his Christmas stories. I have read a couple of them already, including Christmas at Thompson Hall, which is one of my favorite Christmas short stories, really a novella. Just absolutely delightful. Trollope is a writer I'm going to be focusing on more perhaps in the new year, as I'm hoping to dig deeper into some of the writers that I either haven't read yet or don't know about, some of the lesser known Victorian writers. By the way, that is a little bit of a hint as to what might come on my channel come Victober time. So you'll want to make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you can get all that good Victober-y goodness that's coming. I'm really excited about it this year. I've already been reading Victorian literature, of course, and I've actually already been recording some things as well, which means I might actually have a chance of getting out my plans this year. So with that, that's my booktube birthday book haul. The 3 B's there. Let's see. Yeah. So those are the books I was able to get. So those are the books I was able to get to help celebrate my birthday. Let me know if any of those sound interesting to you, or based on what I've shared, any book you want to recommend to me that I check out. I'd love to begin to really build a deeper wealth of reading of Victorian literature. It continues to just be such an enjoyment. I'm currently reading Pickwick Papers, and I am absolutely loving it. This has got to be the 4th or 5th time I've read it, and it gets better each time I read it. This book might be my favorite Dickens up there. Nothing's going to replace A Christmas Carol, but I don't know. It's getting better and better each time I read it. And this particular time, it's just like the best time I've enjoyed reading it since the first time I read it. I'm also reading a book from 1827. It's not Victorian, obviously, but it missed it just by a couple of years. But it is by a British writer, and it's called The Mummy. It's a science fiction story that takes place in the 22nd century. It is really unusual. It's the first reanimated mummy story ever written, I believe. Although some people say it could be, maybe Frankenstein kind of counts, but Dr. Frankenstein assembled his monster, but the characters in this book actually reanimate a dead corpse. I won't say much more about that here. I'm reading it for Garbagist because it is definitely in the vein of Penny Dreadfuls. But it is a really, really fascinating story. I'll talk more about that in an upcoming video if you guys want to keep an eye out for that. So those are the books I'm reading right now, the books I got for my birthday. And I had a great birthday. I just hung out with my family. We had dinner at home. My oldest son and his new wife came for a visit, and it was lovely. I complain about growing old, how, my bones ache more, my back hurts, my vision isn't what it once was. But growing old is a blessing. It's been a privilege. And I've kind of, I've reached the peak if I should live to be 90. Of course, if I live to be 200, I'm only a quarter of the way through almost. So who's to say? Where am I going with all this? Anyway, growing old is a privilege. It is a blessing, and I am so grateful for it. I've been able to see my kids grow, getting on and choosing what to do with their life. And yeah, it's the best. So, okay, with that, I am getting called down to dinner. So I'll have to let you go. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy reading and take care.